It's 10 o'clock in the morning here on Thursday, January 9th, 2025. And we got a little bit of ice this morning. Frozen rain, I guess. It kind of looks like snow, but it's not snow. It's like hail, little tiny bits of hail. A little bit of an accumulation. Right now it's something like 30 degrees. It's really not that cold. Just unrolled another bale of hay for the cows. I was thinking probably next week I'm going to start selling things. How you doing, number 24? You actually don't look too bad for winter, but you're not. It's just water. Water the beads up on their backside. Yeah, she's still my worst cow. Right, 31? Hey there, number 10. You are Fatty McFatpants, aren't you? There's that youngest calf. No, that's not the youngest calf. That's Yellow's calf that had the little comet on the forehead. She has big body, small head. It's kind of weird. 413. There's Brownie. I'm thinking of keeping the Corriente. I kind of like them. So we'll have some Corriente South Pole crosses that will breed out. I like red, but I don't know, man. I don't think she can stay here for very long. There's the youngest little girl. Hopefully your mom got bread. I think she did. I'm going to touch you. All right. I think this is 19. Not 6. Number 6. Yeah. 839. Are you Red's calf? I think you might be. Or is that 43 or something? I don't remember. There's Blue. Hey Blue, how are you? I like Blue. She's mostly Corriente, I think. But she's small. She's just a trooper. In the cow hierarchy, she's number 2. So. Somebody was asking about the hay. I just roll it out. It's for the cows, of course, to eat, but my goal is to get it in the soil and try to increase the fertility of the soil here. Kind of like investing in the stock market, hoping for dividends. In this case, the dividends will be increased grass growth. This is the poorest part of my pasture. So getting the fertility to increase here would be a huge benefit for the future. And hay was still cheap for me. It wasn't very expensive this year. This isn't top quality hay. I'm more than happy to get garbage hay and roll it out in the pasture, let the cows munch on it, whatever they want. That's fine with me. So somebody asked, it's kind of a silly question when you think about it, but why I don't take the dogs indoors. And if the answer to that's not obvious, I probably shouldn't comment. But one little wise answer I can give you is there's no coyotes in my house. Oh, there's a blackbird. Look at all them birds. But these dogs, they have a very thick coat. They have 2 coats, actually. They have an outer coat and an inner coat. And the inner coat are these tiny little hairs that creates like an insulation layer, just like if you were wearing a fur coat outdoors. Super warm. The dogs aren't even fazed by this weather. They probably don't even realize it's cold. It probably feels good for them. They're probably like, oh, finally, I'm not sweating all the time, But the Great Pyrenees breed was started not in southern Texas or anything like that. They were started up in the mountains of the Pyrenees, which I believe are the mountains between France and Spain. And those mountains aren't known for their balmy tropical weather patterns. So they are used to cold. And I need dogs that can tolerate the cold. If they need to come indoors when it's really cold, then I don't need them. They need to be out there all the time, especially when it's cold, because that's when the predators are really moving around and looking for weaknesses and trying to find a free snack, you know. So that's when the dogs especially need to be out there protecting my animals by being the bigger predator on the block, you know. Somebody else asked about the fat. So naturally, the animals will get fat during spring, and left to their own devices, they would lose a lot of weight in the summer, gain a little of that back in the autumn, and then lose a bunch of weight during the winter, just to follow the forage. Ideally, I'd like to keep the cows, the breeding cows, at average weight, right? I don't want them too fat. I don't want them too skinny, right? So if the weather never varied, I would keep them always at the same weight if possible. But the weather being what it is, I'd like them to be a little fat going into winter. It's kind of difficult to do that in this climate, though. We don't have a great autumn harvest. You know, we get so much forage in the summer, and then about the same in the autumn, and they don't really put on the pounds. So what I have to do is make sure that they keep that weight that they gain in spring throughout the year, through the hot days of August and all the way through November, so that when they get to December and January, they still have some of that body fat on them. If I were selling the animals for meat, it's a different story. You want to keep them as fat as you can get them. And then before you sell them, you want to put a little extra fat on there, you know. If you keep them consistently fat, then the muscle apparently gets better marbling. Depends on the breed, obviously, too. But you want that inside the muscle fat, intramuscular fat. Having large layers of fat between the skin and the muscles doesn't do much for your steak. So what I would do with the steer that I'm raising to eat is I'll try to give them the best forage all the time. Let them do selective grazing. Don't push them at all. And then, I think it's snowing a little bit right now. And then probably harvest them at the end of spring, unless I get fantastic summer forage, in which case I can harvest them pretty much any time of the year except winter, right? And that should yield ideal stuff. In further news, and this is exciting, apparently Amos Miller, he's up there in Pennsylvania. If you haven't heard about his case, I strongly suggest you research the news articles and the commentary that people have made about Amos Miller. This is a case that I think everybody like me has been following closely. Maybe I haven't been telling you about it too much, but I've been paying attention. And so whenever I see the words Amos Miller pop up on my news feed, I read that article or watch the video. Amos Miller is an Amish farmer up in Pennsylvania, and he runs what's called a PMA. And in case you're wondering, I want to do a PMA. I'm going to look into it. As I get more and more farm products and I want to sell more direct to consumers, I'm going to start a PMA. Probably not at this time, though. And what a PMA is it's kind of like Costco, right? You join and you become a member of the farm, and then you have access to all of the farm products. So you can buy anything that the farm produces, and those things do not have to be certified by any state or federal agency because you're a member, right? Like if I go to my own farm and I milk a cow and I drink that milk, there's nobody that can tell me not to do that. You can't stop me, right? If I harvest my own cow and then eat it, right, you can't stop me, right? I don't have to follow any rules or regulations because it's my stuff, right? And what a PMA does is that stuff becomes your stuff. And so when you buy, for instance, if you join Amos Miller's PMA and you buy a gallon of milk from him, so he'll go out there, he'll find your cow that you own part of because you're a member, milk it and give you the gallon of milk. And he doesn't have to comply with any regulations whatsoever. Because it's your milk, right? He's just giving you your milk, and you basically pay him for the labor and his time, and he gives you the milk, right? You pay for shipping too, obviously, but it's your milk, right? So he's just harvesting milk from your cows and giving it to you. And that's what I want to do. I think that's a really great way to run things and get around the regulations that were supposed to protect consumers, but have completely flipped the industry on its head and given advantages to big manufacturers. And while we can't go to the open market and sell stuff in bulk, and we can't, grocery stores can't carry our stuff for us and stuff like that, it probably won't be a huge deal because of the internet. So once consumers figure out like how PMAs work and things like that. The other thing to pay attention to is there are people apparently selling beef under the label of fish food, because fish food isn't regulated. So if you were to buy beef from them, just be sure to tell the federal government that you do not intend to eat that is form of your fish, right? And then you can buy whatever you want and do whatever you want with it. It's yours, right? But anyway, that's another approach to getting around the regulations. What needs to happen is complete deregulation of the industry, just complete deregulation. For those of you who think like, oh no, what if government isn't telling me what to do? How am I going to live my life? The problem is that some regulation might be good, right? A lot of regulation is not good. The regulation gives advantages to people who have big organizations and wide profit margins. And they can spend all their time hiring lawyers and working with lawyers, and then campaigning or lobbying or getting their people on the board of the USDA type stuff and make rules that favor them. And inevitably, those rules become too burdensome for the small farmer, right? So like as of today, if I want to go to a USDA certified butcher and harvest a cow, I have to spend more in butcher fees than I do on the cow, right? Which doesn't make any sense, right? Why does it take more labor to butcher a cow than it does to raise that cow from birth to harvest weight? It doesn't make any sense, right? So complete deregulation, like literally no regulations at all. There's probably some regulations we can't go without, like weights and measures. Like we all need to agree what a kilogram is. We might want to have some labeling regulations. Like if you call it beef, it has to come from a living cow. It can't be like manufactured beef imitation product. You know what I mean? Those are more for trade than for anything else. Those are just to help people identify what's on the market, right? But the minute you start saying like, oh, it has to be this temperature, or you have to use this process, or this percentage of bleach water, or that, or this, when you start doing that stuff, it gets out of hand. So I'm of the opinion we don't need regulations at all. Like if I say it's a kilogram, and you say, well, what's a kilogram to you? And then I'm going to tell you that, oh, I talked with this organization and I bought my scale from them, and I have them come by, every year or something like that and certify the scales that it's all fair, right? And then that way, like, that what I'm talking about is the same as what you're talking about, or we have some independent third party that can do it. While at the same time, the kid down the street selling lemonade, if he says he's selling a kilogram of whatever, you can talk to him and figure out what he means by a kilogram. And he could just mean like, oh, it's just a sack of that stuff, and could be, 1.2 kilograms or 0.8, but you're getting what he advertises, even though he's probably using false advertising. Same thing with beef. Like if you go and you want to buy beef from somebody and say, this is beef, you got to ask them, like, where did it come from? If it came from a lab, you're like, well, I don't want that. You call that beef, but it's not. It requires more homework on the part of the consumer. But things that you should be doing already. You should be checking where your products come from, how they're grown, what kinds of chemicals are used. That's on you, the consumer, to figure that out. And then if you end up putting poison in your body, well, that's on you. It's your body, right? And if people lie to you, well, then that's fraud. And when they lie to you about stuff, then that's when they can get punished. And if the lie causes injury and harm, then we can make it a crime. If I lie about the contents of a product and then somebody gets hurt by it, you know, because they thought it was true, then we can start putting people in jail, stuff like that. So that's my ideas. I just don't see a way forward of just regulating, making more and more rules and making life better and better. So PMAs are a way to get around the regulations legally, and you know, keep your eye open for fish food too. So guys, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.